Hey Off-White Coat listeners, it is my privilege to get to tell you about this sweet deal from our friends over at Picmonic. If you haven't heard about Picmonic, it is a fantastic picture-based mnemonic platform that can certainly help out any student. Most of the videos are around 2 minutes long and provide a quick and effective way to memorize material for any upcoming medical exam. It is extremely efficient. They have this search bar function where you can search playlists on general topics like renal to step 1 to step 2, or even first aid and other books. If you want to review the Picmonic for later, you can even make a playlist of your own. Picmonic even has this repetition algorithm that is spaced out according to your learning needs. This helps with increasing long-term retention and allows you to review the right information at the right time. One of my favorite functions is the quizzes that are associated with each Picmonic. I'll take the quiz first and then learn about the associated pictures and what facts I need to sharpen up on. Honestly, Picmonic is a fantastic tool, and if you use our code OFFWHITECOAT, you'll get 20% off. That's Off-White Coat with no spaces. So what are you waiting for? Make studying the easiest part of your day. Sign up with Picmonic and use Off-White Coat to save yourself some money. So hello everyone, this is Jordan Abney. I'm the host of the Off-White Coat podcast. Just here for another episode. I'm currently in my fifth week of OB, so last week. It has been a long grind, let me tell you that much, friends. I've never been more tired than I have been in this rotation right now. Something about it, like even though I come home and I'm getting like way more sleep than I usually get, to be honest, like 6, I'm even trying to get 7 and everything, but I swear, I am so tired on a daily basis. These people be wearing me out. And the 24-hour calls, they do not help. But yes, so I am joined today in the studio with my partner in crime, Bess Skinner.
What's up, people?
So yeah, she's just going to be behind the scenes, kind of talking me through everything, so...
I'm not behind the scenes today.
No, she's up to the front.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Promoted.
Promotions.
Yeah, Jordan, poor guy, 5th week out of 6, coming up with the shelf exam, and step, so he's having to study for both, and that's just wear and tear on you. On top of the hours, on top of Jordan gets there at 7 every day and has to drive, it should not be an hour to get there, but with traffic it is. So he has to wake up, or he has to leave an hour ahead and wake up an hour before that. So you end up waking up at 4, 5?
No, I wake up at 5, yeah.
5.
But Jesus Christ, let's get started with this first.
Okay.
First off, fuck New York or New Jersey traffic. I'm from, sorry, I know that's a little aggressive, but man, they put me through the ringer over the past couple of weeks. I have been, raised in Georgia. Hell, we were in Grenada, which there's 2 red lights. I think only one worked in the whole island. Not that much traffic, They might have driven wild in Grenada, but it was not this kind of traffic.
One road had traffic, right at that one.
Yeah, there's that one road had traffic.
To get to the grocery store.
Yeah. But I'm telling you, I am stuck in traffic. If I leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, I make it to Elizabeth and no problem. But when I come back to Jersey City, it's only God, it's probably less than 2 miles. I don't even know. It's not that far, but it should be a 20-minute drive, 25 minutes. It takes me sometimes an hour to an hour and a half.
Sometimes it has taken you 2 hours to get back.
And it's after a 24-call shift, because then I'll be coming home at 8 o'clock, 8 a.m., something like that. And it will just, there'll be somebody stopped on I've seen multiple people stopped on the Skyway, whether their car craps out or whatever. But then the other day, a cop had pulled somebody over. I was like,
perfect.
I would have, if a cop pulls me over, I'm just going to keep going for it and be like, pull me over down here. We cannot slow this traffic down.
Oh my gosh.
It's kind of just ridiculous. It's always at the same spot. And good Lord. It is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we're used to Georgia where 3 miles takes maybe 5 minutes. 3 miles up here takes 30 to 40.
Yeah, it's amazing when you look it's it'll take 30, 45 minutes to get to the location. It's 0.5 miles. You're like, what the? How is that?
I just don't understand there's so many people up here between people like on the subway, walking, biking, driving, whatever. There's too many people up here. They're just all packed in. So there's traffic wherever you go, no matter what kind of transportation you get.
Yeah. And I mean, luckily public transportation is pretty amazing. Like, I don't mind using like the subway and everything like that, but the driving, I can't drive. I'd rather use the subway because the driving sucks.
Hands down.
And I know people that are from here, that they're used to it and blah, 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 but it's not like a beautiful sunny day where you're driving and you're kind of just stuck in mild, it is a foggy, rainy, crappy day, and there's a million people on the road.
Yeah.
And all of them are as angry as you are to be out there.
Hopefully, Baltimore and Miami will be better.
I heard Miami is not.
I feel like it's not.
I've seen many Snapchats from other students that are in rotations down there. Yeah, and they're like, screw this traffic. And I'm like, screw this traffic.
Oh, great. So, well, it can't be worse than up here, right?
I don't know.
Fingers crossed.
The person that was saying screw the traffic was from up here. But
oh my gosh.
We'll see. We'll keep you updated.
On the traffic.
We'll keep you updated, podcast fam.
Yes.
But yes.
So tell us about your week so far. It was hectic. Or your day, or wherever.
Okay. Today was an event, to say the least. It's interesting because every time I have a patient that I become kind of attached to, they're always super difficult. Like, it's never not like
Jordan's attached to them because he's also super difficult.
I may be a little bit, but it's not that they are difficult. They're always like the nicest people, and then shit just goes sour. And I'm like, okay, like, we're not letting something bad happen to the people I like the most. Okay. So like today there was a lady, she comes in, she'd come in like 2 days earlier, and there's something that happens in pregnancy where if your blood pressure is a little too high, it's called preeclampsia. You actually saw a dog with preeclampsia. It was a dog that had, we had to take our dog to the vet, and Mary Bess got her first lesson in preeclampsia. But yeah, so what you want to do is you want to keep the mother's blood pressure lower, because if they do have preeclampsia and it progresses to eclampsia or whatever, they're more at risk for stroke.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what is preeclampsia?
So preeclampsia is just like a condition that is described by having your blood pressure elevated past, I think it's 140 in the pregnancy. I think it's in the second trimester. Now I'm going to be butchering it, and I'm supposed to know this, but you can have preeclampsia, and then you can have it with severe features, which is where you really need to be concerning, and then they start giving you stuff. And that's you can have elevated liver enzymes and low platelets and then swelling and all these other things that then you're like, okay, we got to get on the move. And that's kind of what this girl was. And she also had 5 C-sections previously. So, if you have had just one, you increase your risk of uterine rupture, where essentially the uterus inside the body is contracting, trying to push the baby down. It can get ripped a hole through because they've cut so many times through it. And, the baby can stick their arm out, whatever. It can get stuck it's super painful for the mother, and it can cause bleeding, and the mother can die from it. So she had preeclampsia. She had the multiple C-sections, and yeah, I think that was one of the things. But so they were gonna take her in and just do the C-section and do the tubal ligation. Now, the thing about this lady is that she loved me. Now, she only loved me because her name for her kid is going to be Jordan.
Oh, okay. Boy or girl?
Boy.
Oh.
Odd, right? I was like, ooh. I gave her a little high five. No, yeah, they like me. The only reason I'm saying they like me is because, I walked in the room with the doctor, after the doctor's in their ultrasound, they're like, woo, Jordan's here. Yeah, he's back. Because I wasn't there the day before. I had a 24 call the night before, so I wasn't there during the day. So they didn't see me for a whole day. And then they were like, Jordan's back. Yeah, our good luck charm. You got to be there for the surgery. I was like, yeah, you better believe I will.
Yeah.
So were you? Yeah, and so they tried to like kick. So if she went in, she wanted to go in they were going to just do the C-section, and they were going to either take her whole uterus out, called a hysterectomy, or they were just going to do her tubes tied, which is tubal ligation. If the C-section went fine and the uterus looked good. So, this was the other thing. That's why I was thinking. They think if you have multiple C-sections, you actually increase the risk of, it's called placenta accreta. And that's where the placenta actually goes into the muscle layer of the uterus, as opposed to being kind of on the part that builds up so that the uterus can implant. It can actually get in the muscle, and then it won't detach as easily. And if you get a C-section, the scar is actually shiny. So the placenta wants to attach to the bottom end of, to the scar.
Because it's shiny?
Yeah. That's just what everybody says. That's the reason.
Does the placenta have eyes?
No, but I guess it feels different, texture. I don't know, but
that's weird. That's like makes me feel like the placenta's like an alien.
It does move. It moves and stuff. I don't know. Like it's not an alien, but so yeah, they're not really sure how this is going to look because she has got like signs of it and she's got risk factors. And they were doing ultrasounds of it, and it was possible. They did an MRI that said yes, and then they did an ultrasound later that said no. So nobody knew what the hell was going on. They like prep everything. They take her in, and then so they're like there can only be 10 people in this room.
Well, number 10.
Well, I was gonna be, and then another doctor comes to assist and everything. So they're like,
"You're out."
They're like, essentially, there are 10 people in the room with no students, and there's 4 students down there trying to watch the surgery. So I was gonna watch it from inside the room, and it was only because I knew the patient. I had this rapport. They were saying, "Hey, Jordan," as I walked up, and not speaking to any other students. They were just like, "Oh, what's up, Jordan?" And like, give me a fist pump, like the mom and the dad, and then like not even knowing who any of the other students were, which is fine because I'm the one that spent the time with them. But then that means that I was going to go see the surgery because if the doctor said, "Oh, and we're going to have Jordan there for good luck," if she says that, she just jinxed me. Like if I can't get in the surgery and something bad happens, I'm like blaming myself.
Because you can't blame yourself though.
No, but if I'm like the good luck, air quotes on that, and then something terrible goes happen, they're like, "Jordan, were you in there?" I'm like, "Oh no." They're like, "The fuck?"
Yeah, why not? Well, there's 10, and there could only be 10.
Exactly, but I worked around it. I just helped them set the patient up, did everything, while the other students like stayed out because there was too many students. So they were like, "Oh, blah 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 blah," and so she was like, "Oh, if this other doctor comes, like, you're gonna have to leave," and I was like, "Okay." And then when the time came, I just took a step back, and I'd helped the girl out so much, she just forgot.
Why?
Completely forgot.
Why can there only be 10? Because of COVID?
It's just some rule. No, they were just trying to be, because eventually the director came by and said the other students could come in. But that was right as the baby was leaving with the other 3 people that were taking care of the baby, like the pediatrician. And gotcha. So in those operating rooms, the more people, the more of a pain in the there's people standing around, people are in the way. It makes it a hazard to be working in that area with too many people. Long is story short. This lady comes in, she gets the surgery, they get the baby out, everything's fine. They're like, "Oh, no placenta accreta, nothing, everything's normal." They take her to the ICU. I get lunch, everything's good. Then we're going back up from lunch. We see the doctor that was in the thing waiting down for the elevator as well, looking frantic as shit. Like he is just looking distraught. And we're like, "Hey, are you going up? How's the patient doing?" He's like, "Evidently she's going to go back to the OR, blah, blah, blah." And we're like, "What do you, what? I'm like, "What?" Yeah. And then, so me and the doctor go back up. He's like, "I got to go check it out." And then he took me back and then, we were having to evaluate her again. She's continually bleeding from her vagina, constantly. And it's not stopping. They're giving her blood. They're giving her IVs. Oh my God. It was and this is one thing I want to bring up because this was a huge issue. So the doctor, of course, he didn't want to go back to surgery. This is a very complex situation. Going back to surgery means that he has to do a whole hysterectomy, which is an hour and a half, 2 hour procedure. You have to go back. You've already closed a wound up. You're gonna have to open it back up, go back to surgery. Like, it's not good. You know, you don't want to have to do all that.
Definitely not ideal.
Yes, definitely not ideal. But this lady was continually bleeding, and like it was obvious and it may be because I was super sensitive to the patient. She looked like she was dropping quick, and her blood pressure would kind of creep back up, and then would drop to like 76/23, which is bad. Yeah. And then they would give her some, and she would creep back up, and then drop again. And she is like fading in, like kind of fading, and he's wanting to wait. He's wanting to wait. He's like, hey, can we get some Cytotec, which is this pill that we would put in vaginally, trying to get him to stop bleeding. And it's like in the 5th floor. I ran up so many floors today. He's like, well, can we get this? And then they're like, you got it. They're like, oh, we don't have this thing in the ICU. What the hell you think? Like, we're not labor and delivery. He's like, we have it up there. So I just take off, running. So... And I make a rule not to run in scrubs because it freaks people out. Until today, and it freaks people out because the second I came running, they were like, what's going on? Blah, 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 blah. But ran up there, grabbed that, ran back down.
Why were you guys in ICU and not labor delivery? Because you guys had already been in labor delivery, and so because she was still bleeding, you took her to ICU?
She was in like the surgical ICU right outside the I shouldn't have said ICU, but the surgical ICU that's right outside the operating room. They wanted to do this one because it was it involved a lot of things. It could be a hysterectomy at the end of it, because that's what they didn't know. They didn't know if they were going to do all this other stuff. They wanted to do it in the actual OR, not in the labor and delivery floor. Okay. So my hospital, they can do it in the labor and delivery floor, like C-sections, or they can do them in the operating room, and they decided to do that one. Right. They do most up there. But I
mean, that makes sense. Like, they knew she was going to have, like, a tough time, basically.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, so that was the thing is, like, so the resident is like, look, we're going to have to take her to surgery. Like, he's the one that's like, he's like been sitting with her. She's continually bleeding. The doctor comes up with me and he's trying his best to not do it. But you're like, dude, if you let I'm sweating because it's not even on me at all. But I'm like, do not let this lady die. Yeah. Do not wait. Like, he's like, maybe we can just wait it out. Maybe we can just wait it out. When they pulled this lady's uterus out, and it's almost like they popped the top. Like, they cut it. And just clots, like filled up a whole bowl. And this was not blood that was circulating. This is blood that was pooling up in her uterus and she would have probably died. She would have almost 100. Basically. It was just bleeding into this, like the uterus is.
Before they cut it open, it was like just backing up with the clots.
Yeah. Like it was like she had a hole in like the top, and it was like, I guess if you can think of like, if you had like a hole in the top of like you were like filling up a 2-liter or whatever, and you had a hole in the top and you were trying to fill it up. Well, the more you filled it up, it would just keep pumping it out. Okay. That's not even a good example.
But you said they opened her up like a balloon and it just started coming
No.
out.
Like they opened the uterus up. Yeah. And it like popped. Like they pulled the uterus out of her and it's like kind of sealed. It's like a little vase that the baby's in, like it's kind of like a little box. And when they opened it up, like when they pulled it out, they kind of cut some of it away. Yeah. And then to get like whatever's inside to see where the bleeding was and everything, and there was just massive amounts of blood that had been hemorrhaging in.
Once that makes sense.
Yeah, so they had pulled it out, and then they were cutting it to take it out. Like you have to cut it from, like all the vessels. Yeah. So yeah, I was like, oof. But luckily she's doing fine. They did the whole hysterectomy, and she's doing fine now. But
she just can't have kids.
I was in, right. Yeah. She was done with kids. Okay. This is like. So if you get,
that was her 5th C-section?
Yes.
So this is her 5th child.
Yeah, she's been pregnant 9 times.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Did she have twins or anything?
I think no. There was one lady that did have them earlier today. No, she did not, but she just had a couple abortions as well. So yeah, there was,
a lot.
and then yeah, like every time you do the C-section too, it gets weaker and weaker, and then,
Sense, yeah.
and she knew she was gonna not have any more, but it was just it was a day because I spent from like 11 a.m. like till 4 for sure, like in the OR except for my lunch break. Or like around that area, running back and forth, trying to speak to the fam. Like, and there is something too when there's an emergency situation. I was kind of telling you about this earlier. Like when shit started hitting the fan, like hard. That one doctor started getting like he didn't almost know what to do. He was calling other doctors. He was kind of getting frazzled. He didn't want to go into surgery, but I don't know. I was getting a little hype. Maybe it's because it was my girl that was going down or whatever, but I was just like, there's something about that thrill. Like when things become critical and it's like, you got to go, you got to get moving, you got to be moving at the fastest. There's just kind of a little thrill. It's one of those things that I know I work my best at it. So when I feel it creeping, I can't help but like smirk and let's be like, let's get it. Let's go at full capacity. We're going to do this.
Right.
You're not dying.
It just takes you back to like when you were an athlete and stuff. It's like, okay, game's on the line. Got to get it going. Everyone's hot.
I want the ball.
Like, we're down. We got to.
I want the ball.
Yeah, give me the ball, basically. Yeah. So I feel like it's similar to that. Like,
and that's the one thing that's kind of one of the reasons I knew I was kind of cut out for this is because I wanted the reins. Not in a way that is like egotistical, but I knew that I would do the prep work prior. I would be ready when the situation came. Right. And I'm good in those situations too. Like that's where I guess I do my best work. Unfortunately, I guess most people would like to not be stressed out when they do their best work. I'm sure as hell wish I was a different way. But it's something about then that I'm like, oh, okay, like we're at home. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go. You're not going down today. Let's go. Yeah.
Are there any doctors? So like ER doctor, I feel like fits that category very well. Is there a doctor that like wouldn't be like, oh, give me the reins, you know?
I mean, you would hope that they're going to be the leaders in any situation.
Well, yeah, I guess, obviously they're going to be the leaders over like the nurses or whatever. But I'm saying like compare like an ER doctor compared to like a psych compared to neurology.
That's what I'm trying to think.
Urology like whatever.
Any kind of surgeons, they go, fuck it, let's fix it. Yeah. They're jumping on it.
So they got the reins.
I would say internal medicine, they kind of sat around and thought. There's a lot of calculating and thinking about things, maybe not moving as fast as we had to be.
Internal med's like house, right?
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, like almost every one of Grey's Anatomy, all that, they're all like internal medicine residents. Okay. Except in those shows, they do every job in the hospital, which is ridiculous. They're like, that's not. They're doing the files, they're sweeping the floors, they do fucking everything.
The surgeries.
They do the surgeries too.
You're scrubbed in.
Yeah.
I gotta sweep.
But yeah, no, they do a lot of thinking. I guess family med, but even then, they're individual. Like they're the ones being seen, so they have to take initiative to speak to the other physicians and everything, and refer their patients. So I would hope that you're getting in because unfortunately, being a doctor is a position of leadership. You should be wanting to step into that role, or at least get comfortable in that position, because you're going to be leading whether you want to or not. Like people are going to ask you for some guidance, and so I mean it would be unfortunate if you didn't want that, but you would hope, but I would say that that maybe they're a little bit more technical, maybe family, pediatricians, it's kind of like but even then when something's serious, it's game on. Of course. But they're more like kids are generally healthy, thank God. Vaccinations are amazing. Old vaccinations. Okay. The COVID ones I'm not too sure about, especially the young ones. They've been not proven. I have seen more vaginas, Mary Bess, than I'm good for the rest of my life. Well, 5 weeks. 5 weeks in OB is all it takes. You will be good.
I'll be good. I don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine 5 years in practice. Jesus Christ. Like, I one time I was like, you're gonna eventually get tired of seeing vaginas. Or maybe it just becomes day to day.
No, I feel like I definitely would.
You would definitely.
I would get tired after day 1. Like,
yes.
no, thank you.
But it's also super interesting because it's a good specialty because, for one, people are usually healthy. People are usually healthy no matter what. There's a happy ending, which is births and stuff like that. While there may be other complications, stuff like...
Have you seen any sad case?
Yeah. Luckily, nobody has died or anything, but there's been some babies that have not made it. Like, no mothers have died, but luckily, they were already kind of prepped for that baby.
Oh, like premature or something?
Well, they knew that there was demise. Like, they knew that there was no heart activity on the ultrasound. So the mother just delivers it vaginally.
That's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like,
that's sad. But usually it's happening...
Don't you take like a pill to like flush it out?
That's
like an abortion, like at home.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You can do that, and there is like if you have like ectopic pregnancies or something like that, there are pills that you can take to get that kind of what you're referring to, wash it out. But no. These when they're this late in the game, they just have to push it out.
They literally have.
No,
to
they
go
can like
through
stimulate.
labor.
They can kind of induce you.
But they have.
But
to go
usually,
through labor.
Yeah, it's better than a C-section.
Yeah, but the fact that you have to go through labor just to have like a dead child, a dead baby.
It's better than a C-section.
I wouldn't wish that.
Like, it's like
anyway.
Scientifically proven. That's why we have to do it. But yes, I get what you're saying. You're saying emotionally it would be terrible. It's supposedly better than giving birth.
For the doctor and for the mother. But I'm saying like...
No, like it's easier to push out.
Well, whatever. But, I'm sure. I bet the contractions aren't as strong because I guess there's no contractions.
Well, there's Yeah, but
or you
it's them? Well, I guess they could just get, like, they're not really worried. They can just get the fucking thing. I don't know.
I don't know, but that's just got to be like...
I know what you're saying, but it's not as difficult. 9
months of uncomfortableness, basically. Yeah. And now here I am wanting to hold my child, and yet I birthed this fetus, not even like a baby, I guess. I guess it is a baby at that point. And I don't get to go home with it. Like,
it's just very unfortunate. A lot of people have a lot of terrible things happen during this process. I mean, it's the miracle of life.
I'm sure.
But yeah, I mean, you have people that are like, the one I'm referring to, she had 2. She had one at 28 weeks, and she had one at like 36 or 30. Like, she was there.
Like the same pregnancy or 2 different pregnancies?
2 different Yeah, she had multiple kids even after that.
That seems unheard of. Does that happen? Like, say you have twins. Like, could that happen?
I mean, both could die, yeah.
No, but could you have one at like 28 weeks and one at 36? Like what you just said?
I don't know. It feels like
Look into that, doc.
It feels like if one came out, I don't know how the other one... Like, because your cervix would dilate and everything.
I don't know. I don't know.
The time to be pushing that thing out would be upon you.
You're the one in OBGYN. You should know that.
I've never heard of one sticking in.
You should ask.
Hanging out for 8 more weeks.
You remember the question I wanted to know when you first started? Do you remember?
No. I've slept since then.
Your time is coming to an end, and I don't know if you have an answer. But I have been told that giving birth, like with
that
your
the
legs
vagina
in
is the
straps.
doorway to the soul.
No,
what?
With your legs in the straps, like on the bed or whatever,
like the sex swing straps. I'm just kidding.
Jordan.
Okay. Back serious.
Jordan, let me finish.
Okay.
Like normally, like you see in the movies and the shows, like where they just like push the baby out.
Okay.
Right? I heard that it could cause more complications than if the lady or the mom or whatever was on like all 4s.
Okay. I actually brought this up. No.
This? Okay. You actually asked?
I asked, and everybody kind of just went and shrugged their shoulders because they were like,
want to give you the right answer because they say it's easier for the doctor to get the baby that way than if the lady was on all 4s. But it's easier for the mom because like gravity and stuff, and there's less likelihood of your vajay tearing?
That's essentially why the OB is there, is if you're laying, is to try to prevent that tearing.
Yeah.
That they like pull down and try to prevent. It is interesting
like
because a lot of...
tear.
No, they like use their hand, like the baby coming in with force is going to rip it, but they like hold it down.
Okay.
It's like... Yeah,
so who did you ask, the nurse or the doctor?
I asked the doctor. Yeah.
What'd he say?
So they were just kind of like, I mean, the interesting thing is my point of bringing it up is because I was like, every single other animal gives birth like that.
Okay.
Like on all fours, bent over. Even my point wasn't like
my girl
doctors.
Wants to know.
Doctors make it easy on themselves. No, I was like, because even chimps and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure they like bend over.
I don't know about chimps.
I don't think they're doing it spread eagle.
I'm pretty sure dogs lay down though.
I think that, but I know...
Either way, though, it's not with your legs in the air. No one gives birth with their legs in the air.
They just kind of was like, there's a lot of things. They're like, yeah, that is interesting that all other animals give birth like that. And I was like, yeah, they were just kind of like, yeah, that's obviously easier for the doctor. They're just kind of like...
For the legs.
Because then I was like, is it easier? Is it just because it's easier? And they're like, I mean...
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're not questioning the job. They're just saying, okay, this is my job. They're not being like, we should revamp all of childbirth. Now, me coming in, I'm like, why the fuck are we doing it this way? Like, obviously, me and you are thinking, hey, you could do it differently. They're like, our job is at stake if we try to change this shit up. But yeah, they're just like,
But if they start a revolution, like...
I mean, either way, I brought up now this might be an unpopular choice, just in case fluid's falling and everything, but we brought it up too, and one of the doctors was like, that may... Because we were talking about gravity and everything, I was like, what if you... Like, instead of like the doctor having to hunch over and everything, you could make almost like... It like almost like where it would be like a bunk bed height, where that mother would be super high up in the air though. Like you had like gravity and everything kind of pulling the baby down,
like a swing.
Almost like that, yeah. Like and they're up above, and the doctor just can kind of like bring the baby out, like from like eye level or whatever.
That's what they need.
With
Yes. Ah, okay.
Like even if she was turned, the only thing is if she's turned around and she shits, it's all over the doctor.
Well,
and that's one thing for sure. But
goggles, don't you guys wear goggles?
We're getting covered in everything else anyway. So
right. You're getting blood, placenta.
We'll have to bring
poop.
What we'll do. We'll have to bring the OB resident on here, and then we'll just have to ask her.
I would love that.
Would you?
I have a ton of questions.
Yes, because she said she'd come on.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, as you all know, I've spoken about this a couple times before, but I'm not looking forward to childbirth or childbearing.
Mary Bess hates everything about pregnancy.
I am terrified. I have a low pain tolerance, and I just think it's going to be very miserable for me. And Jordan's like, "Oh, it's okay, you can do it." I'm like, "You don't have to do it."
It's a miracle of life.
And then he continues to tell me like horror stories from his day at work. And they're not that bad to him, but to me, I'm just like, why would you tell me this?
Okay, almost everything I tell you, it ends in a happy story. It can just be a little crowded coming up to it.
But I don't remember the happy ending. I can't tell you one happy ending. I can tell you all the bad stuff.
Mary Beth just loves, I'll like walk around as I'm like studying, and if discharge is in the sentence, I'm definitely saying it out loud. But anything... I'm like, greenish vaginal discharge. She's like, shut up.
You said something the other day about having like this rare condition of where like the baby
where you speak out of your ass. You've got it.
No, where the baby eats the placenta like in the womb.
What?
I'm pretty sure you said
I don't think I was some of that. I know people eat the placenta after it comes out.
It's something
but
like
not
that.
recommended. I do not recommend that. HIV women are not the placenta to eating.
In pill form though, and it's really healthy for you.
I mean, it would be healthy.
It
looks like a huge jellyfish.
Would you take one of my vitamins?
Would I take your placenta vitamin?
Yeah. You make me take just about every other vitamin. So what's one?
I want the placenta
Sleepyhead.
freshly cooked. Like over a spit, like how they do it.
That makes me think of cooking Riley's liver.
We don't cook Riley's. Riley, first off, is our dog. And we do not cook her liver. We cook her chicken liver.
That's okay.
The way you said it was...
Okay, I guess you're right. It sounded
when we cook her liver...
No. Cook liver for her. I should have said. But, our poor girl.
Yeah, right. Mary Bess does not want to see or realize that any animal that she's eating has body parts. Or was alive.
Or I don't want to talk about anything having to do with pregnancy.
Yeah, she hates that.
That's remotely going to freak
She works
me
at a
out.
baby boutique, but is scared of pregnancy.
I don't see as many pregnant people as you would think.
Well, because it's a baby, it's usually they've already had the baby.
Correct. Mostly people buy gifts for the pregnant people. That's basically what we are, like a gift shop.
Makes sense.
Well, I mean, obviously, we do have the moms and the pregnant people come in, but literally, though, most of our, sales go to gifts. But anyways, our poor dog, Riley, she tore her ACL, or what is equivalent
the dog
to
equivalent.
Humans. Yeah. ACL. She's snoring right now, actually.
Yeah, so if you can hear her, I'm sorry.
Poor girl, yes. So she.
Yeah, they did an anterior drawer test, which essentially tests if a human's torn their ACL, and hers was just moving.
He took the top half of her leg, and he took the bottom, above the kneecap. I'm talking about that part of the leg, and below the kneecap. And he started moving it 2 separate directions and every which way. And this girl, she had been through a lot, and she didn't whine or wince once, but she looked at him and was like, can you not do that? Can you let go of my leg? That hurts.
That's something else we can bring up. This stupid ass carprofen thing.
What is that?
So carprofen is an NSAID that is the safe one to use for dogs and cats. So any NSAID that you're getting over the counter, whether it be ibuprofen or Excedrin or I don't even know. There's so many, but Advil and all those are actually very, very dangerous for, especially ibuprofen for dogs, because they don't process it renally well at all, and so it even can cause liver damage and all these other things. So they're very, very dangerous. So they recommend you don't give it to your dog ever. So there's one safe. An NSAID, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug. Things that you can buy over the counter for $5, if not 20 cents for one Advil, blah, blah. So to get an NSAID, my dog has a torn ACL. We took her to an emergency department for pets. We get it diagnosed, blah, blah, blah. Or they're like, this is what we think it is. And they go to give it to us in the ER. And it's, $100 for 7 pills or some ridiculous bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're like, okay, well, let's see if we can get this somewhere else. Well, luckily we could find 30 pills for $13 at Chewy. So we're like, okay, we'll do that. Well, you have to get it approved by your vet. So you're like, okay, if I contact my vet and explain that she's been seen by another veterinarian physician, what's been going on, it's an NSAID. You could prescribe it. No. Evidently, according to veterinary medicine legal guidelines, and I would love for anybody listening to this podcast that can prove that wrong to please let us know, because it's the most dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard, is the fact that I could kill her with an NSAID over the counter. No problem.
Yes.
But you're not allowed to prescribe an NSAID because you haven't seen the dog, but another physician has seen the dog. It's like a psychiatrist sees you and diagnoses you with ADHD or depression or anything, but another physician sees you then they're like, and I can't really prescribe that medication to you because, I didn't see you for the depression. Somebody else did. I know that they were your doctor and now I'm your doctor and, blah, 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 but you're just not going to be able to get your meds today. And I understand some of the pushback, but some of especially if it was like some kind of scheduled drug and maybe even more if it was like a human and there were like these weird complications. But this is like, obviously we're talking about money ploys. It seems so strange that it would be anything but a money ploy because why could my vet, and we don't live in Rome, Georgia anymore, which is where my vet is stationed. So there's zero chance I can get my dog to him. And the only thing they recommend is me, and I'm going to go back there. She has a checkup in 2 months. So instead of giving me the medication for 2 months before she goes and sees him, which would be the only logical explanation because the dog has a torn ACL, you wouldn't want it to limp around. You see it 2 months later and then be like, oh, now I can get an NSAID, like because you saw me. And it's not like she hasn't seen it. It's not like I'm asking for it, not knowing anything. Yeah. Like she's been seen. She's been like, there's a note given to us from a vet, Yeah. But we just didn't take that guy's like written prescription. And I understand. But there's just a weird, like you should be able to be like, oh, okay, this is the only thing safe for dogs. Maybe we should let it off of the legal binders so that animals can have things for their joints and stuff besides like, I guess they make like shit on Amazon that has NSAIDs in it and everything. They're just chewy, like they're just treats with aspirin and stuff like that in it. Yeah. So you can do that, no problem. But you can't get like the good stuff. And if there was like a shortage, maybe, but it's not. There can't be. They want you to come and see them again.
Yeah, they want you to come and pay for the initial visit. And then on top of that, they'll prescribe you the meds that are still going to cost a lot. Since we saw them, what's going to happen is they're not going to let us go through Chewy if we saw them. They're going to make us buy it through them.
Yeah.
And it's still going to be 7 tablets for $100.
Yeah.
There's no way. Like, it makes me think, like, okay, say I was a junkie, like a human, right? And I'm popping, like your mom sees it. Your mom's an ER doctor. She'll see a guy come into the ER asking for drugs. And then, what do you know? She'll see him a couple weeks later asking for the same drugs. And probably in between there, he's probably gone to 3 more doctors asking for the same drugs. And everyone's probably giving it to him.
Yep. Nope. Yeah, that's the funny thing. You can look. Yeah.
That's a human life. And he's getting this.
No problem.
No problem. This is a dog.
I got tooth pain.
I love Riley. She is my child. I would do anything for her. Yeah. But ultimately, at the end of the day, she's a dog. Yeah. Like, why do we have to make constant appointments and show constant proof? Like, we have the proof. Like, why? Like,
money.
It's just sketchy and it's...
Money.
That's exactly why. Yeah.
Money. We can move on past the vets. I just think it's super stupid. Okay, here's a funny concept that I thought of the other day, and it holds true. It holds true every time.
Okay.
So, during a pregnancy or during the birthing process, whether it be vaginally or C-section, the father is always sitting there by the mother, and I see them before I see them. He's like, yeah, like. He's, let's say, especially in this example, the mother she couldn't speak Spanish, or she only spoke Spanish, so she couldn't speak English. And the husband was translating and doing all this other stuff. He was just super talkative. He's like there for the birth. He's like holding her hand. He's like, you've got this, like push, he's speaking to her in Spanish. He's like holding her leg up. He's like, you got this. And the labor is taking forever. She eventually just tells him to shut up. Mm-hmm. Like,
that's going to be me in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. She just immediately is like, shut up. That's all she says in Spanish. Shut up. And then, which makes everybody laugh in the room. Because you didn't need a translator to know exactly what the fuck she said. So the father's like so into the mother and all that other stuff. Baby comes out. Father forgets the mother is even fucking there. Almost every time. Every fucking time. It's so funny because the mom will give birth and she'll have like a vaginal tear, and that's like one of the OB's biggest parts is like making sure the baby comes out safely, and then like them stitching up the vagina afterwards in case if it does tear. They don't all tear. But like if there is a tear, they make sure they stitch it back up, and any changes they fix it. I don't even know if fathers realize there's tears in vaginas because like they don't like this mother, the one I'm referring to. She had a pretty significant tear. They had to repair it for like easily 20 minutes. Like they were like working on it. It completely like one side it completely avulsed to the other side. It like had like ripped off from like one whole side of it to make a tear. You know, like if it's like here, like a V, and it was like the bottom had ripped off from one of the sides. Okay. So yeah, it would be hard to explain in a podcast, but they were working on her for a while. Dad, nothing. He not even near her. Over there with the baby incubator, like he's like whispered in the baby's ear, like dad. Like fathers are it's so funny because like they're over there like getting their time in with the baby, like before the mother, like you know, like dad, I'm your dad, and the mother's like, zonk, she just gave labor. She's like half in and out because she just like did the most intense cardiac workout of her life. It's like labor's like if you were running as fast as you can, like cardiac workout, like wind sprints, where you know you're like super tired and then you got to go again. Like did they ever make in football? They'd make you do that full pads and you'd be tired as hell, and then they make you do more. They make you do more, trying to get your condition up. And so they're like almost out of it. Like sometimes they put the baby on them. They can like not even like lift the baby up. They're like, oh, just leave it here. They're so tired. And the father, not even like didn't even notice.
I'm sure.
Like the mother's like getting her vagina stitched up. She has no idea. Kind of. She's just like she's feeling pain when they're like feeling of the cervix. So father's just like, my little boy is finally here.
This is like my freaking dream come true. Like, not only do I get to carry this thing for 9 months and go through uncomfortable nausea and pain and sleepless nights, but then I have this hard labor that's more pain. Probably the most, like you said, the most pain and the most exhaustion I've ever will face in my life. And then here I am, not getting any attention.
That'll be that's her biggest fear, no attention.
It is. I just want to say to all the mothers out there who have given birth, who are going to give birth, you are a rock star. And you deserve more credit. Like, golly, I better.
Mothers. Huh? They could be foster mothers that haven't given birth. It was a weird category. Right. Yeah, okay. It was a weird category. Mothers that haven't given birth is a weird category. Outlier, but yeah. But there are
right.
certainly.
Okay, thank you.
There are certainly.
Thank you. You deserve more credit. You deserve more support, and you don't get enough. Everyone focuses on the baby after that. The baby don't do crap except for literally crap and cry.
I will say that was the best part of my pediatrics and even OB is the babies, not the vaginas at all. But the women need more credit.
You got some. You remember this? I will pull up this podcast episode and play it for you.
I had literally a student today lean over to me and she goes, "I hope." And she has had like 3 C-sections, blah blah.
A student?
Yeah, she was a PA student. She's not a medical student, either way. But she's like a little bit older than me. She just leans over and she was just like, just today, like in that surgery, was like, "I hope when the time comes, you respect your girlfriend for all the things that you've seen in your OB rotation."
She's 100% right. You better freaking love me and give me all the credit because I need now and I'm not even pregnant.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Oh, no, yeah. Much love to all the ladies that are listening. Right now there's only one lady listening, aka Mary Bess. But hopefully in the future there will be more. Yes. You deserve the love and support.
Thank you.
You've got that from the Off-White Co podcast.
I better get the message.
Yes. So I guess other things on the topic, which, this is just, I guess, me I'm going to step into a soapbox because we're going to talk about something a little bit on the shittier end, because this is something that I witnessed, and it's just kind of shitty. It needs to be said, and I might as well just say it now.
Spit it out.
Yeah. So there's a guy. There's a doctor. He's definitely older. It's always like the older doctor that's kind of almost out of practice, but he's not. And when the residents were seeing somebody, and usually the residents see somebody with this, like they see the patients, and then it's kind of like a pyramid. So, like the residents will see, and then or not even a pyramid, but like a hierarchy. And then they'll bring up those issues to the physician, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
This guy they were super packed, so the doctor goes and sees one of the patients. And this lady she had a previous C-section. We were talking about how the baby can implant on the scar. Remember how I was telling you that? Yeah, the placenta. So they did... they're doing like the beta HCG, the pregnancy test, blah, blah, blah. So she has a beta HCG of I think it was 7,000, 5,000, something like that, which is decently high. But usually if it's like a mole, it is like significantly higher, like a high data form mole or whatever. Things that like are weird mutations. You don't even know what I'm talking about, so we're moving on.
Yeah.
But
let's speed this up.
Yeah. So either way, they saw this, and he thought, oh, it's like it's an ectopic pregnancy or something like that. It's attached to the scar, which they're more commonly they can be, or like
I don't know.
It's a mole or something. He's thinking it's not a baby. They get a fetal heartbeat. He's not paying attention. And because even though he has that, and he has some other things, and yes, there's ways that you can have these weird, these, I guess, weird implantations on the wall. There's ways that he could be right, but he's not right in this scenario at all.
Not right.
So what he did was he gave her methotrexate, which is a drug that essentially is what you're doing to wash. You're talking about a pill that washes people out. Yeah, you're going to give this to people that have ectopic pregnancies or about to go, to kill the fetus and cause an abortion. Mm-hmm. And he gave it to this lady. And the thing is, he doesn't speak the best English. He comes in there and he's just like, you got to get methotrexate. You got to get methotrexate. I'm not in this room, but I'm hearing the people describing how upset they are because this actually happened. Yeah. And he's just like, when he's describing it, he's like, no, this is what you got to do. He's not explaining everything in full, drawn out detail. He's not explaining the situation. He's not explaining the variables.
He doesn't speak good English, or
I think he's very let's get this shit on the road. Let's go. Oh, I got to see a patient. Let me see if I can do it in 10 minutes. Blah, 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 blah. I see somebody. I think this. I move on. Yeah. I give them this. Move on.
Right.
I don't think about any other variables. I'm the right. And that's the problem. Once you get to a certain point, especially after a certain age, you can think that you're right no matter what. And more things are going to slip through the crack.
That's
and
true.
it's interesting because it's early in your medical career, a lot of things can slip through. But also, and that's what I want to bring up, also in the end, a lot of things can slip through. That you're not,
From The Good Doctor.
She's talking about a show.
Yes.
But
Everyone
there's
knows
some...
that.
There is...
The Good Doctor is really good. You should really watch it.
I cannot get behind any medical TV shows.
No, I've tried to make him watch The Good Doctor with me, and I literally have to turn it off because he's like, that's not even possible. Or what are they even doing? He just criticizes the show, and I'm like, all right, zip it. I'm turning it off.
But
anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
It's so funny when they do every job. The residents in there sweeping, and it just cracks me up.
Not sweeping.
But it's just a matter of, I thought it's very interesting that I thought about because there are a lot of problems. Especially when you start off, you don't know what's going on.
Right.
But then also towards the end, there's a weird kind of it's not senile or whatever, but you're just kind of doing the job that you've always done. You're doing.
Senioritis?
We got one guy that just uses forceps, and we're gonna have to bleep this out. But this is literally the definition of why he uses forceps.
What is that?
So forceps are like you know how you have that thing, the tweezer picker.
Yeah.
So that's what they pull the baby.
What it's called.
Oh,
Just tweezers.
I mean, not tweezer. You pick your eyebrows. Yeah, tweezers.
Yes.
They're essentially like big ones of those that are kind of like the round ones, and you pull the baby out like a metal claw, claw.
What did you call it?
They're called forceps.
Okay.
And so you can use that, but now they have a newer thing in it, especially if the baby is like.
It's like a vacuum. It sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Especially after 34.
Totally
Yeah. Yeah, you stick to their head and it kind of pulls it out.
Like a plunger?
Yeah.
Get out.
Literally like a plunger, but it's using a vacuum. It sticks literally on the top of their head and it pulls. It's like the size of the plunger.
Boop.
But especially for babies later, if it's earlier, then you can't use it. You have to use the forceps. This guy only uses forceps, no matter when the baby is. And like he's scratched babies on the forehead using the forceps and things like that wouldn't have happened if you'd used the other ones. But he is also like 70 doing the job. But also, and like I said, you're going to have to do some bleeping or whatever. True. But he said the reason that he does not use forceps is because when he learned how to, and then
you said he only uses
no, he doesn't use a vacuum is because when he was in residency, they came out with the vacuum assisted delivery.
Okay. And
his attendings told him that only use vacuum assisted delivery. And he still doesn't use it to this day because of that reason. Was quote unquote the reason. And he was doing it more.
From him or who said that?
He said that. And he wasn't
to you?
To a group of students.
But you were there.
I was 100% there. This statement was not. This statement was almost was 100% said to be funny. He said it trying to be funny. But everybody around him was thinking about the benefits of vacuum assisted. Everybody, because a lot of the residents and everything else, they've been taught that way also. Like they know all these benefits, they know all this other stuff.
I just had to chug the rest of my wine.
Yeah, and they know what the reason, like that there's benefits to it. But because he grew up in a time that was different,
right.
He sees it as something totally different. And so he's like, oh, well, if I use the forceps well, then I never have to use the vacuum. I never have to learn how to use the vacuum. And half of it's, I don't want to have to learn how to use a new tool to do a job I can already do.
Yeah.
But also when you scratch a kid's face that's like, that could have just gotten the vacuum, you're kind of like,
come on, man.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. Those are the slip-ups.
Yeah.
You have these things where people get stuck in their ways. They get and so I think older physicians, we have as a physician. That's what I hope am good enough to do that myself. Is you need to be able to check yourself. You need to have other people that you can rely on. Like Dr. Malcolm, there's a 74-year-old ER physician in my hometown. He's not trying to see 40 patients in a day. Like he could not, that's asking so much, yes. But he allows the younger, my mother and all the other physicians that have the stamina, that have to do it. And he can handle the things that he can handle. Mm-hmm. He's not trying to, first off, he has nothing to prove. But there's a certain amount of ego that comes with being a physician because, especially if you've been doing it for 20, 30 years, you've been right a lot of times. Hell, you've probably proven a lot of people wrong. Yeah. You've done things, you've been in scenarios where they're like, you can't do this, and then you did it. Blah, 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 blah. You've done a lot of amazing things. And so people are like, oh, you're the leader. You know, what should we do? What should we do? You have to be able to, first off, stay up to date with medical knowledge. Mm-hmm. Because that's very essential because you're teaching people that are learning that medical knowledge as it's up to date.
Right.
So if you're not up to date, you're just doing things and then you're saying blasphemous stuff like that, then all they're going to remember too is that statement that you said about how you don't, and so, and you should be able to check yourself so that you can kind of make the right decision for people.
Yes.
The worst part is you're killing somebody else's baby because you're not really willing to look at all the fucking variables, and you're making a decision within 10 minutes.
So I gotta know, like, is that what the mom went through with?
I'll let you know in 4 days if the baby ever made it.
So she went with what he suggested.
No, she took the fucking medication without anybody knowing until after.
What do you mean knowing? Knowing what?
Because he's the attending, right? So he
knowing that she took it?
Yep. Or that he was signed, that he had like prescribed her that, and that she was taking it.
So wait,
because they gave it to her in the hospital.
But she heard the heartbeat, right?
I don't know if she did. I think they did the ultrasound. He did.
Oh.
Or like it was a previous ultrasound, maybe. No, it was a previous ultrasound that had shown fetal heartbeat. But it's like on the scar. So there's like these weird things that I guess it could be, but it sure as hell could have been a baby. It sure as hell could have been a baby. If anything, everybody in the room thinks it was a baby, except for him. Which is unfortunate because it's like, even if he's an amazing surgeon, like you just killed a child because you weren't thinking. You were only thinking about, like, maybe you've seen 40 women like that come in. And they all had almost similar situations. But this one had a heartbeat. That you can't just say that it fits in the same rule.
It's hard to... I always try to put myself in the other person's shoes. And it's
same
like,
here.
Maybe, like...
I was getting to that.
The story that you're giving me, it just doesn't... unless you're 100% sure it's like, you should take this pill, then at least outweigh... At least
you have to give the people
mom
options.
the option, and then have her weigh it out.
I mean, what you should do is you should give the people the options, and you should not so heavily... Like yes, if there's some situations, some people don't understand what is best. And so you can influence them. But I feel like sometimes it's the easier solution is so easy to influence. Like, because you're the doctor, you can influence them to do whatever the fuck you want. Whether it is to take this medication or whether it is to hold out.
Yeah.
Whatever I say is going to go. I 100%, like, I'll let you know the rest of the story later. But in this scenario, he did something very, very rash. Very quick decision. And then... It's not just me that's seeing this, by the way. I'm only relaying this information. This is
and you didn't see it. You were told this.
I was told this during, but I'm told, this isn't like something that happened like 3 levels beyond me. This is like me showing up to the rounds and everybody talking about what it happened.
I know.
The day before.
The game of telephone still applies.
Yeah. So these are people though that, I even saw like her chart and everything though. So I do know, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't like give everything. And plus it's a HIPAA violation. I'm not going to give everybody. But the issue is that when this story was relayed and everybody else in the department, not just him, or like not just residents standing up for each other, not just nurses and stuff, like the other physicians, when they looked at this data, were like, I don't want any fucking part of that. Wow. Like, I don't even want to look at the shit because I don't want my name on that chart, and I don't want any part of that.
Wow.
They're like, they were just mind blown. Like they were, like when it was said, and then they were like, and there was a fetal heartbeat, and so it was just like the eyes just blinked 14 times, and it was like, fuck, what the fuck's going on? Like, it was obviously a look over. And yes, there's like some, and like we even brought up the literature that's why I know that there are some scenarios, because they were like, these are in the way that I guess it could be, right? But he definitely, I don't think he made the right decision on this one. And yes, reach out to us at Off White Coat Podcast. Maybe you got some more insight on it than we do, but it is a very, very tragic story, because the real thing is that we really have to just check our egos and know our limits. It's a way of, and they say it's the Swiss cheese model in medicine, but if it has to go through multiple layers, hopefully something's going to catch it. There are holes in Swiss cheese, but the holes usually don't go all the way through.
That's a great analogy.
That's what they are. Yeah. So if you use that methodology, you can hopefully catch everything.
But when you're going off the hip and just being like, oh, okay, like I'm right. I can handle this easy. And then it's a serious situation. Sometimes you can make the wrong decision if you're not thinking about it. And you got something else on your mind, and you're like, oh, okay, well, easily this is this. All right, everyone. I'm getting the signal. We're going to have to wrap this one up. It has been a wonderful episode. Please reach out to us at Off-White Coat Podcast on Instagram or email offwhitecoatpodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. This has been another episode. We'll get back to you next week. We love you. Have a great day.
Hey everyone, I want to take this time to tell you about our friends over at TrueLearn. They have this top-of-the-line test bank that is perfect for any upcoming board exams that you may have. They have test banks for all types of exams. So whether you're studying for medical school, nursing school, OT, pharmacy, and others like speech pathology, TrueLearn is the way to go. If you're like me and going through medical school, they have question banks for all the big exams, like Step 1, Step 2, and Step 3, with quality assessments for each exam. Look, I know we didn't go into healthcare because we love taking tests. This is the hard part of the job. Make it easy on yourself with TrueLearn. Sign up now with the code OFFWHITECOAT to get $25 off your purchase. That's OFF White Coat, no spaces, to get $25 off your purchase. This is a test bank that you do not want to pass up on. Make this easy on yourself. Take the deal, pass your boards, and get back to enjoying the reason you went into healthcare. And make sure to use Off-White Coat when you pick it up.